So what's up there, everybody? Today I'm gonna share the Tilta setup that I have for the Blackmagic Pocket 4K camera. Stay tuned. So one of the questions that I get asked most frequently is actually, how should my cage look like? And to be honest, it's such a hard question to answer because everybody has their own specifics to what they like, how they shoot, how they use their cameras, which setups they want. So when people ask me that, it's such a hard thing to actually help people with, because what I like doesn't mean that is the same thing as maybe you like or somebody else. But this cage and this setup is probably the setup that I use the most, and even this setup changes depending on the shoot. So sometimes I'm gonna shoot for a really long while and I don't want to change the battery so often, then I use a V-mount battery plate as well, but most of the time I tend to use the NP style batteries that I can use here with the Tilta side handle, but yeah, as I said, most of the time it looks like this, and this is quite a heavy setup, as you can see here, but most of the time I actually use it together with an easy rig as well. So I have this camera more or less in front of me and I use the screen to frame my shots. In the front we have the matte box, and this is a matte box from Tilta. It's called the MBT05, and I know that Tilta has a couple of different matte boxes, but this one is the one that I like because it's not too big and it doesn't weigh too much, and I like it really a lot. And a lot of people don't use matte boxes, but I think if you're really looking for that really crisp look with high contrast, because it saves you from getting flare into your image. Another thing is that you can of course have 4x4 filters in this matte box, and it is sometimes quite inconvenient to have 4x4 filters because you have to change them depending on the light. So a lot of the time I actually like to have circular filters when I shoot, but if you really can nail that exposure, I would probably go with 4x4s because the quality is often much better. The base of this cage is of course going to be the Tilta Cage, and I've talked a lot about the Tilta Cage and the accessories in my other videos, but the base here is, as I say, the Tilta Cage. I do like to have the top handle because it's such a nice way to holding your camera. Sometimes I take it off and then I try to hold the camera on the side handle, but most of the time I really like to have a top handle. And the cool thing with this top handle is that depending on how your weight of the setup is distributed, you can choose to have it further in front or further back so that your setup is quite well balanced. And as you can see, this is not perfectly balanced, but it's balanced enough for me not to have it as a problem while I'm shooting. I also love shooting with this focus side handle from Tilta. It is such a good thing to have, and once you get used to changing focus from this place, it's hard going back to any other system. So this is the thing that I really like, and of course I use this together with the Tilta Nano, as you can see here in the bottom. For battery life, I do have an NPF 970, which gives me more or less 3 or 4 hours of recording time every time that I use it, so that's a really good thing. When it comes to recording media, I do use the Angelbear Match Pack, which is really cool. 512 gigabytes SSD on top and 256 gigabytes inside the camera in a CFast card. As you can see here, I have this lens holder, and this is actually from Smallrig that I use, and it works perfectly good here as well. You only have to attach it to your rods and it works perfectly. I also have an offset cold shoe from Smallrig here on the right side to offset the microphone just a little bit so it doesn't interfere when I'm holding the setup in the top handle. For a microphone, I tend to use the Rode NTG1, which is quite a good budget microphone that I like, and also the holder is from Rode. I'm not sure about the name. I think it's like the SM3 or 4, but I will link it in the comments, of course. And on top of the setup, I do have the Field World. This is the 279S, which is a great monitor. It is an ultra bright monitor, so if I'm out shooting outside in the bright sunlight, I can actually see everything that I'm doing. So that is the best feature of that monitor. I have made a couple of videos about that monitor before. It's not a perfect monitor, but if you're shooting outside, it's so critical to see what you're doing. So that feature alone is worth a lot. Now I wish I could have the interface of the monitor on the camera on the display here, but I can't, so that's a real bummer. I hope that Blackmagic could in the future implement it so you can manage all your settings from another monitor on the top. As for a monitor holder, I actually use a ball head, and this is a ball head from Manfrotto, which I've had for a lot of years, and it works perfect. It's so sturdy, it's made so well, and it has basically never let me down, and it stays put wherever you let it be. And I know that a lot of people who have their big setups like this use V-mount batteries, and as I said in the beginning of this video, I do that as well. But I've seen a lot of videos where people show their rigs where they have a V-mount battery on the backside. I don't find that too practical, because the monitor of your camera is also the touch interface, and if you have to change settings on your camera on the fly, it's such a hassle to take off that V-mount battery every time. So that's why I most of the time go with this, and if I don't go with the side handle, I most of the time have the Tilta V-mount plate, and I can put that underneath the camera. Of course, if you do that, the weight distribution is going to be somewhat changed here, but it is a really cool thing that you can have your total rig quite balanced, as you can see here. If I hold it in one hand, you see that it is a little bit front heavy, but not too much, so it doesn't matter too much. So I would love to know what you think about my rig, and if you can see if there's any improvements for me to do on it as it is right now. And as I said, it does change from shoot to shoot. I'm also making a video about my Smallrig rig as well, because I do shoot both on the 4K and the 6K camera. So on the 6K right now, I have the Smallrig cage with a lot of the Smallrig accessories, and it does look much more different than this, and I'm making a video about that as well. So I have two different setups that I use, and to be honest, a lot of these things can be put on the other setup as well. It's not too big of a deal, to be honest. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask them in the comments, and please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Until the next time, bye bye, and see you soon.